So the next step in the process is the detailed development process. That's where we take the opportunities that were preliminarily identified at the preliminary audit stage and turn them into investment grade with firm costs and firm savings. In the detailed development process, we get into a lot more detail with establishing the baselines and doing the measurement and verification, doing the designs, playing with various options. But basically what we'll do is we'll come on site, we'll as-built the system, as well as get a good inventory of all the equipment that's there, nameplate, model numbers, things of that nature. We put in monitoring equipment, quite extensive monitoring equipment, to baseline the system and figure out how it's operating. We're going to monitor things like amps, KW, KWH, if it's a power factor project, power factor, pressures, flows, temperatures. We've got a tremendous amount of equipment so we can monitor pretty much anything. But we really want to be able to characterize and baseline how that system's performing, how efficient it is, how well it's doing at maintaining certain target process output parameters, such as how well does it maintain pressure, temperature, or flow, for example, as well as be able to compare its output to the amount of energy that it took to produce that output, which is a measure of efficiency. So we'll take all that measured data, we pull it back into a model, and we'll generate a model for the system, which will include production variances over the course of a typical year. We'll also include weather files associated with your particular area so that we can model those weather effects and how they're going to impact the system and the loads on the system. In that model, we'll calibrate it against the actual measured data so that we can be sure that we have a good model. But then we also use that model, once we've got it, the existing condition modeled well, then we'll take that model and we'll play around with it to say, okay, what happens if we do X, Y, or Z, and how much does each of those components contribute to the savings? So then we'll be able to tune the model through playing around with various scenarios to come up with what's the best overall scope of work to optimize the system. Once we've developed that scope of work, then we can spec equipment, get pricing on that equipment. We can develop drawings as well as drawings and specifications and get contractors involved. And we typically like to work with contractors that have done work in the facility that the facility likes and trusts. And we'll bring those contractors out, walk them through the job, walk them through the site, hand them, this is the scope of work, this is what needs to be done for any particular trade, and work with them to get pricing on doing their part of the work. And once we've gotten the pricing back, we've got the model which calculates the savings highly accurately. So we've got pricing and savings, we bring those together and we've firmed up the project. So now we know what it's going to cost and we know what it's going to save. And then we'll put that into rebate applications. So if there's rebates or incentives in your area, we'll work with those authorities to start that process. Basically pre-secure or get some sort of level of commitment on what sort of incentive they're going to kick in to help the project. And then we'll take all that information and roll it up into a report with the schematic drawings and stuff like that, and a good description, scope of work, points, all of that stuff will go into a report. And we'll sit down with you and go through the project and the report to make sure that it meets all the needs of the facility. And we'll be talking to the facility all along to make sure that as we develop the project, it's going to be a successful project. So, the last thing we want to do is do all this work in a vacuum and then come at the end and say, oh, this isn't going to work because of X, Y, or Z. That doesn't help you and it doesn't help us. So it's a collaborative effort, but there again, we try to minimize any impact on the facility and do most of the work, do all the work that we can ourselves. So we'll go over the report, present the report, and we guarantee that those projects, when we deliver them in the report, are going to meet or exceed what you specified as your target return on investment or economic criteria. Otherwise, we don't get paid. So you come out of that with a firm project, one that you can feel comfortable with, and at that point, we're in a position where we can guarantee savings because we've done the baselining, we've done the modeling, we know specifically what the scope of work is, and we can offer a guarantee, which I'll discuss in the next video how that guarantee actually works.